morning, depending on what time this actually gets uploaded. It's 2 a.m. and just got something on my mind real quick. I'll try to make this a quick video. And I think what I'm going to title this video as is, what is black? And what I'm referring to is, what does it mean to be black? And what prompted this? And again, I'm really just asking the question. And so I'd like to hear, anybody who watches this video, I'd like to hear their response, and what they really think. But what prompted this was a comment that I received, a comment that I saw on one of the posts that I had made on one of the Kevin Samuels fan pages, and the reply is, well, this is why we go and get our black women from, Nigeria or Jamaica, or basically just saying this is why we buy plane tickets. And that just prompted me to, I just asked the question, well, is that actually really dating a black woman? Because, when we in the United States of America talk about blacks, there's a certain type of vibe. There's a certain type of person characteristically that we're thinking of, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're from the hood or the ghetto or anything like that, because to be black isn't necessarily to be from the hood or anything like that. Just like if you're white, it doesn't necessarily you're from suburbia or anything like that, right? And it just got me into a kind of a little bit of a back and forth, just exchanging ideas and stuff like that on the idea of what it is to be black and, blackness and stuff like that, And, for me, I think, a lot of it, first let me just give my answer before I go into the why and me the what. So to me, I don't consider Africans as a whole. I'm talking Nigerian households, Ethiopian households, Kenyan households, South African households, whatever other country or province or set of people that are from there, and they're not necessarily culturally black. They don't even share any common American cultures or anything. I don't necessarily consider them black. The same goes for like Jamaicans, Brazilians, the same way, right? And again, that's just my viewpoint on the thing. And for me to be black, at least inside the United States of America, is, there's a certain culture, usually, it's surrounding, that deep Southern Christian value type of thing. Usually it's involving a set of people that their ancestors, and not really, their ancestors were a part of the chattel slavery system. And so black people, as we would know them today, are the descendants of those people, here in the United States. Okay. So that's just kind of how I feel on that, right? All right. So, and what was I saying? I said super late, so forgive me if I lose my train of thought and stuff. The why behind it was just kind of, it's kind of, oh, that's what I was going to say. So the reason why I think that a lot of us do tend to say that, Nigerians and stuff like that are black and everything like that is because we go back to this idea that because our ancestors do come from some parts of Africa, whether it be West Africa or whatever, you know, that automatically ties us to that land, um, which I don't necessarily think is super smart. But even if you want to go down that path and, go with the proclamations of, our people were kings and our people come from royalties and everything like that and the works and everything, right? I think if you're going to do that, then you have to accept the good and the bad that comes with that, and it comes with that ancestry. Because a lot of the times where I heard things like we need to go back to how we used to do it in the times or how our ancestors used to do things, and we're not talking about our ancestors from like the 18 or 1700s. No, we're talking about our ancestors prior to slavery, right? And it's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, if you're gonna have that mentality and stuff, but don't just take the good and then just leave out the bad that comes with that, because those same ancestors were the ones who ultimately, lost the war. That's how our ancestors ended up in shackles and chattel slavery. We simply lost the war, whether it was just maybe our ancestors just lost a battle or a skirmish or whatever, or maybe there was maybe it was a skirmish to them, but to the people, in this case this would be white people, people come from Europe and stuff like that, they were at war. They looked at it, they were conquering, okay? They were on a conquest, and they were conquering, lands and stuff like that, and taking over those lands. And they took over those lands by beating the indigenous people of those lands. This is, no matter how you really want to shake it, whether you want to say that they just came and took the people and put them into slavery, or whether we were sold into slavery because we lost to other African tribes and peoples, the outcome of both of those narratives resulted in the same thing: we lost. So it's like we hang on and we cling on to that, but we want to separate ourselves from the American identity, even though really Americans, the average black American, has more in common and would probably honestly get along more if we were to remove this right here. We have more in common with our white neighbor. You see what I'm saying? The white neighbor that's also historically white, American white. Right? And again, I'm separating that because, yes, a lot of the white people, they could trace their history back to the nations and tribes in Europe, Germany and Switzerland and Poland and stuff like that. But even if you look at them, a person with a heritage coming from maybe Ireland or Switzerland and stuff like that, they're going to have more in common with their black neighbor than they would their Swedish or their Polish ancestor, just from a cultural standpoint, right? So that's why I'm just asking, what is black? Like, and if going and getting a Nigerian person is black, is that actually giving back to our community as black people? Or when marrying into that, are we giving to the Nigerian people, or the Ethiopian people, or the Kenyan people, or the Jamaican people? Hopefully I'm making sense with this. And another thing I wanted to also kind of bring up is, if you're going to go get a Nigerian or get a Kenyan, and that's acceptable. And again, um, I'm not here to question anybody's freedom of choice in that aspect, right? I'm just asking, if you're going to do that, then what's the difference between doing that and going to marry the white girl that you have so much in common with, or much more in common with? Is it because they're the enemy? Is it because it's presumed that since she's white, that her ancestors were your ancestors' captors, so there should automatically be a beef there? If that's the case, then cool, fine. So what about when we start bringing up Latinos or Asians, who historically might not, or probably don't have anything to do with that, but they might have, their family might have been in the United States for the last, 2, 3 generations, and culturally you have more in common with them. The only difference is this right here, the skin color. So my thing is like, why is it, I guess this would be like a secondary question, why is it more accepted to marry that Nigerian, to marry that Kenyan, to marry that Ethiopian, than it would be to marry that other person that I described, the Latino, the Asian? They could be Indian, whatever. I guess what I'm ultimately asking, the second question is, what is considered dating outside of your race in the black community? Anyway, this is just trying to make this a quick video. I don't want this to be too long at all. So it's late. It's now about 2:15, so I'm going to edit this down as quick as I can. But yeah, just give me your thoughts. Once again, thank you guys for listening. This is Godson Ken saying peace. Till next time.